Now watch. It's different. Like she invisible. So this is what Allah is telling us. To dress modestly. So that you don't, it's not that you're dressing in such a way where you're stomping your foot for attention. Okay? You know, this is the guidance from Allah, you know. But now let me show you this. This is because this is one of the important parts of the topic. Let me ask you this question. What is the, let's see. What is the difference between a Sunni Muslim and a Shiite Muslim?
You asked another question?
Yeah. What's the difference between a Sunni and a Shiite Muslim?
I mean, Allah says He made us Muslims, so it should be no difference.
Okay.
What is she?
Oh, that's not the question. That's not the question. You asked what's the difference between a Sunni and a Shiite.
The Shiite Muslims, did he talk about?
Oh, like Islam.
That's
again. Oh yeah. I'll send it to you. Yep. Inshallah. Good.
Walaikum assalam. All right. So.
No help from.
I thought it was the Shiites didn't believe that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu was still the prophet.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. Shiite.
No, that's the Ahmadiyya.
Oh, Ahmadiyya, right? Oh, okay. Shiite. They not Muslim. Wait a minute. No, laugh, y'all.
No, we're not laughing at you.
Shiite is mostly from India, right? Aren't they mostly from India? Do they believe in like the prophet's companions or something? I think they follow the companions or something.
All right.
We don't know.
So now.
He should have been the first Khalifa after the Prophet died.
Who, Ali?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. So now this is a big major thing because this is that's the two biggest sects, I think, right? But now let's check this out. Let's see.
News and see reporters talking about the conflicts that are playing out across the Middle East. We hear a lot about fighting between the Sunnis and the Shiites, the two main sects of Islam. But many of us have no idea what the difference between the two groups is and why there is so much friction between them. So let's take a look at some of the history and the geopolitics to get a sense of what is really going on. There are 1.6 billion Muslims across the world. Roughly 85% of them are Sunnis.
The one thing is, don't be upset if you didn't know that answer, because most Muslims don't. Okay, especially the Muslims here don't know. Okay.
And began after the death of the Prophet Muhammad some 1400 years ago as a disagreement about who should succeed him. The Sunnis felt that Abu Bakr, a close friend of the Prophet's, ought to be the next Muslim leader. But the Shiites claimed that Muhammad had anointed his son-in-law Ali as rightful successor. The Sunnis won out, but a split was born, and that rift was cemented when Ali's son was later killed by the ruling Sunni troops, an event which the Shiites commemorate every year. Fast forward more than 1,000 years, and the situation is worse than ever. According to a poll by Pew Research, some 40% of Sunnis don't even regard Shiites as real Muslims. But there's more than theology at work here. Perhaps even more important is geography. 100 years ago, around the time of the First World War, the Middle East was carved up in a Franco-British pact called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. But the Europeans had little interest in understanding the religious and ethnic intricacies of the Middle East when they divided up the region. Still, these arbitrary borders became the blueprint for today's map. The Shiites were divided primarily among Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon, with an offshoot of Shia Islam, the Alawites, in Syria. This area has come to be known as the Shia Crescent. Sunni Muslims make up the bulk of the population of other countries in the region, with pockets of Shiites scattered among them. As you might expect, problems arise in countries where both sects are vying for power or one group feels oppressed. In Syria, for example, a Sunni majority has been ruled for the last 45 years by an Alawite minority. In Iraq, a Sunni minority ruled over the Shiite majority for decades. After the U.S. invasion, Saddam Hussein, a Sunni, was overthrown and a Shiite government took over. That government proceeded to marginalize the Sunnis, and now some of those disenfranchised Sunnis have gone on to form the so-called Islamic State, or ISIS. Now let's do a quick who's who in the Middle East. As you just heard, ISIS, along with Al-Qaeda, are Sunni groups. Hezbollah is Shiite. Osama bin Laden was a Sunni. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is an Alawite, remember that's a Shiite sect, and the Iranian mullahs are Shiites as well, which helps explain why Iran has gotten involved in the conflict in Syria. And where does America stand in all this? Traditionally, the U.S.'s strongest allies in the region have been Sunni powers, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. But now the U.S. is pursuing a nuclear deal with Shiite Iran and is working alongside Shiites in Iraq to try to destroy ISIS. But at the same time, Washington still supports Saudi Arabia, which is currently bombing Iranian-backed Shiite rebels in Yemen. Confused yet? One satirist summarized the tangled web of conflicting relationships with this map. So what can we conclude? At the end of the day, it's important to remember that the majority of ordinary Sunnis and Shiites do not hate each other, and both groups share the same core tenets of Islam. In a sense, it's similar to the differences between, say, the Catholics and the Protestants, and the fighting and the bloodshed that we're seeing across the region are less about religion than they are about power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about, oh, go ahead.
But I was just thinking about Jerusalem
Mm-hmm.
and Palestine
Mm-hmm.
and the difference between the two brothers.
Mm.
You know, it's the same thing. It's like unbelievable. You're fighting because you're saying that this brother is the leader and that brother's it's just it's sad.
But now, and it's funny that you're saying that, because when you think about it, think about how they talk about how the colonizers came in, and basically the colonizers, what they would do is magnify the differences.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about a movie with Don Cheadle.
Divide and conquer.
Right? It's
Yeah.
all divide and conquer. Right.
Hutus and the Tutsis.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hotel Rwanda. Right? Remember, they made the differences between them with the shapes of their noses and their height. They were killing each other over that. Okay? So, this is the game that they play in terms of division, and that's why Allah tells us not to be divided,
Mm-hmm.
to be together, to work together. But now, let's look at the guidance of the Quran when it comes to this situation.
Same thing happened over there, happening here.
Right. But now look, this is Quran chapter 6, verse 159. It says, as for those who divide their religion and break up into sects, thou hast no part in them in the least. Powerful statement from the Quran. It says, their affair is with Allah. He will in the end tell them the truth of all that they did. So how come we're walking around here calling ourselves Sunni Muslims,
Right.
Shiite Muslims, Ahmadiyya Muslims, okay? Because Allah,
And then not only that, I just had a deep conversation with a Salafia.
mhm,
And, you know, we were like, well, what's this, you know, we compare. And it's just amazing because that's right here in Philly that is happening.
right,
And so we need to get to know each other. Like, why is it so different? And, you know, what do you think? And so it doesn't matter, we're both saying that should be way the heck.
right,
Yes, and Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22, verse 78, the law says that he is named Muslim.
right,
So there's no sect there at all.
Right.
It's plain Muslim.
So-
But in fact, we need to look back and see who was around when Prophet was there. Nobody. It's just all one.
right,
Then after his death, that's when they started bringing that.
right. But see, the thing is this, we have to get to know one another, but at the same time, we got to get to know the Quran.
Right.
Because that's where the absence is. We don't know this Quran. We're so we like to take the easy road and kind of read hadiths and not focus on the Quran, where Allah tells you that have that kitab. This is the book with guidance clear without doubt. Okay? And this is what's causing the disunion between Muslims. Okay?
Right.
But who are we listening to? We listen to the sheikhs. We listening to the imams. That's still that's pushing this division, and we can't do that. Go ahead, sister.
Sisters are divided by dress. If somebody don't have on black or somebody don't wear their hijab a certain way,
Right.
but yet we have relations with non-Muslims and we don't.
Exactly.
And we looking at each other, you know, strange, but somebody have on collars and all that kind of nonsense.
Exactly. But it's funny because I remember driving down Ridge Avenue one day, and I was on my way to my school to get something, and I saw a Muslim brother, you know, outside, and he said, "Oh yeah, well," he said, "the salat's coming in," and I said, oh, "Okay, I'll be right there." When I came into the masjid, made my salat, you know, everything was good. You know, I sat down doing my dhikr. After I finished my dhikr, he says to me, he says, "Where's your beard?"
Where's your birth?
My beard.
Oh, no, he did.
Oh yes, he did, sister.
In my pocket. You should have told him. Yeah.
Right, but see, but the,
I would ask, where's your dean?
Yeah, right. Look,
oh,
look.
you got some good comeback.
You wear
That happened to me one time.
You should have told him I left it in the, he said, I left it
Put her on a shelf.
Yeah. Look, one time I was at the masjid, right? And I was leading the salat, and same thing happened. Like a brother came to me, it was like, listen, brother, next time you need to raise your pants up, you know, before you make salat. I'm like, where you getting this from? You know. But anyway, about a week later, I was in Save-A-Lot, seen that same brother stocking ham on the shelf. Salam alaikum.
But you know what
Shrunk
they
him down.
you know what they say about that in terms of the pants.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, I explained that to him
Right,
too.
because
Yeah.
they said that you're rolling up your pants so that your pants legs don't touch the hellfire.
Right.
But wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense
Yeah,
because
exactly.
my feet are touching the
Exactly.
ground. Isn't my feet? Wouldn't that be in the hellfire too? So the thing is that we have to start learning this deen for ourselves so that we know what it is and not allow people to dictate to us what Islam is.
Right.
You know, because I could show you some hadith that would blow your mind. I mean, if you had a toupee on, it'll lift up. After I show you some of the stuff that I found just through research. Okay.
Hey, before you start, it's something I want to just say too. Even dealing with what we just saw.
Right.
So when I came into Islam, I came through a group from overseas. And the danger I see, like y'all talking about too, most of the Salafis are young people, right?
Right.
Maybe our kids, is that when I came into Islam, that's what they was teaching us, as opposed to our behavior, right? Like say, like the brother UGC online, I listened to him, I think last week, give a talk about families, things like that. They don't touch that because, sad to say, they study us. I learned more about them after I left them than when I was in there. They had me hooked too. And when you focus on the appearance, what they do and how they kind of like indoctrinate you is to feel that you're better. They teach you to hate your parents.
Right, it's a power grab.
They teach you to hate other Muslims.
Wow.
Why? Because it's like a switch. And this is what I'm saying, it's a switch. They going to throw that switch on our kids. And you know what? And them cats over there, that switch is going directly to them. So we really have to kind of be cautious.
And that's why Elijah Muhammad did not want them into the temples. And Muhammad taught us to be aware of.
Yes.
But see,
That's alhamdulillah.
but see,
We also have to use common sense, because if somebody's overseas and they don't understand our condition, then we can't, I mean, we have to learn a religion, but then they don't understand what we're going through here in America. And so they live in a Muslim country and everything is fine, and anything,
Right.
problems day. But here in America, our situation is totally different.
Yeah, I just
Allah said he will raise a leader up from amongst every people.
sister, I understand what you're saying, but just hear me out. They study us.
Yeah,
They
of course.
they
Right.
know the things to tell us. They know if we really are a people who are based, you know how we wear the clothes and the shoes. They know we are very materialistic people. So they make the religion
But so are they.
materialistic. That's why they come
Yeah, they come here. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why they come here. They don't come here really to preach the religion. They come here to make money. And it's just that they see us as kind of lost, a lot of us, as a people in general, and they just know us. So they say, you grow your bed, you raise your legs, you Muslim, you better than everybody, but check this. Whatever we say, do something, you best do it. And that's how they roll. So we got to be real careful with the stuff going overseas, and how they are indoctrinating our young people.
well, you got to think about it too. These films, these television shows, all these things don't just stay in this country. They go throughout the world. And it gives people a belief of how African Americans are. Okay?
Especially black men.
Right. So now they look down on us.
Big time.
Okay,
Yes.
and that's worldwide. The dark-skinned people of the world are looked down on. Okay? And this is a part of the game. This is a part. Once you start studying and you start looking at the thing of Dajjal and all of that stuff, I'm telling you, it's already here. Okay? But the thing is that I would love to just do a presentation where we just talk about that. But the thing is that they look down on black people. And the thing is that the Prophet Muhammad was probably black. Okay? And the Prophet Muhammad was more than likely black. Darker skin. Okay? Yeah. And the thing is that they have evidence through history. You know, Allah leaves us little breadcrumbs sometimes. And when you go out and start seeking the truth, you'll find these things. And you'll be able to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. That's just like Isa. Right? They tell us that he was white. Right? But throughout history, you see that the evidence is all around that he was black. But the thing is, it's about white supremacy. Okay? So the thing is that we have to understand that Allah doesn't judge us by color. He says, I have created you on different hues. Right? So, you know, he judges us in terms of our righteousness. So it's not that the white man is the devil and all that. No. It's about righteousness. For each and every individual, it's about righteousness. They're going to be judged for it. Okay? But I want to show you this real quick. Because I got a brother Naseem had a request. So I wanted to I wanted to get to that request, but
We find some folks that still believe the white man is the devil.
oh yeah,
I mean, the majority of history will prove are people that can't be trusted. But you always had some good people that was abolitionist.
What?
Majority,
Mhm.
Well, we have to always look at people as individuals.
Right.
Always as individuals. You know, we've seen a lot of things that has happened in history, and a lot of it is because of climate. So let's talk about it a little bit. The African or the people of color came up in a warm climate where it was hot, the weather was warm, food grew abundantly, right? So they felt a closeness to nature. They felt a closeness to God. The people, the Caucasians who came up in a colder climate, they grew up in a harsh, cold environment where they had to seek shelter in caves. The food didn't grow abundantly, right? So they felt angry towards nature or angry towards God. So it's easier for Shaitan to manipulate them, okay? To give his whispers to them. And they follow it because they don't have that strong natural connection. Okay? So the thing is that what we have to realize is to follow the guidance of the Quran. That's one of the biggest problems that face us today, is that we've walked away from that guidance. We're not following it like we should. And that's why the Muslims are divided. Okay? But let me show you this real fast. This point. Oh yeah, this is
How often are you here, brother? I see you around.
I try to come as often as I can.
I didn't even know you were here tonight.
You need to advertise better. I didn't know either. I just happened to come to get my.
Yeah, I
It's
just-
too bad though, because it was on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, well, Sister Deb put it. I mean, the biggest thing I could do is I bring and I put the flyers in the masjid. You know, just try to notify people that we're having a session. But you know, I can come as you know as really as often, you know, as you know as needed. But you know, it's just up to y'all in terms of setting up the dates when we could, you know, do something.
Are you in communication with Idris Abuzahir?
No.
Okay. So he is the head of information, making sure the right information gets out to the different media outlets, whether it's Facebook, the website, email.
Right.
So I think that you should get in contact with him. So if you have an event or you're going to be at the masjid,
Right.
he knows, and then he can make sure that it gets out,
Okay.
so we can reach more people.
Right. Inshallah. Oh, I had to switch this. Oh yeah, I got it. Now, I want you to see this. This is going to help lead us into this next thing. I want to show you.
Are we a normal family? We have 2 kids, order Domino's for dinner sometimes. All right, I'm ready to go. In many ways, we fit the kind of normal stereotype. Our kids, Caden and Zyler, are 3.5 years old, and we're raising them using they, them, their gender-neutral pronouns so that they can decide for themselves when, if, and how they want to identify as a gender.
Babies.
Babies.
They're killing me, man.
So what do you call the kids? They? I mean, what do you?
Right. They're not assigning their children a gender at
So
birth.
they can try to figure out and choose what they're doing.
Choose what they-
Not
right.
2 guys who are married with a gay.
I think it's a man and a woman. But they're what they call gender fluid or gender neutral. All right, so they feel like a child shouldn't be given their physical appearance shouldn't determine their gender.
schools, they can't call their parents, their mother and their father.
Right. Well, actually, we were instructed that when you call a parent, you should refer to the child as they, and not as he or she. Okay.
What school?
Mm. Well, right, because see, the thing is that we keep forgetting what Malcolm X said when he said, when you put the education of your children in the hands of your enemy, your children will become your enemy. So the thing is, they have our children more than we do.
Yep.
And that's why they have all these early education programs, right? Because they want to get your child even earlier. Because they said, there was a guy that I showed before, he said that the first 7 years of a child's life, they're so open to programming. And they're like sponges, they absorb it. So if I teach them at a young age that homosexuality is okay, so then they're going to fight with you. They're going to fight with you. When you say, that's not how things should be, that's not, what Allah teaches us, they're going to combat with you because this is what their other teachers told them, that they spend more time with. Go ahead, sister.
I was on social media and they had this big, ugly man dressed like a woman. They called it like a drag queen hour, and he teaches children.
Right.
stories and stuff.
Right.
Crazy,
Yeah, they did a thing.
I think it was in New York.
Yeah, they did a thing in New York. They did it in a few places where they had the drag queens come in and read to the kindergartners. Yeah.
Okay, we need more schools now.
Absolutely.
We got to get behind the schools that we have. Them schools, we got to start getting behind our schools.
That's right.
The thing is that we don't even control our schools,
Thank you.
and that's the reality of it.
Thank you.
Because these people will dictate to us what you can do in what you call your
We
school.
control our school upstairs.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yes, sir.
That's interesting. So, okay.
So I got two comments. The first comment is just religious. The second one is about politics. It's something I go on and I kind of go off about on Facebook. The politics part. But as far as the religious part, one thing we got to keep in mind is in the Garden of Eden, right? You got to think about what did Shaitan say, right? He questioned. He had Adam, and he questioned God if God is right, and that's what this is all about. When someone says that, okay, I was born with organs that are male, right? Organs that are female, but yet I'm not that. You're questioning God.
But
Right.
but
And it's like so it's kind of like for those who move or support those people who pass laws, and it's the politics part, right? Who are you supporting? Aren't you supporting that person that was in the Garden of Eden that had us question God? They still today the same one is having us question God. On the politics part, right? So who we going to support? The people who pass us or the people who fight against us? Who are the people who fight against us? I'm not saying join Republican or Democrat. You could be independent. I'm just saying that you got to say, look, I'm not supporting this political group because they fronting and stuff. It's against my religion, and that's all. That's a two-person trying to make.
but think about it. I mean, when most people